Hello, Dreamboat.
Dana's in danger. Kill Christian Wolff, transfer all domestic accounts overseas.
Current vehicle?
F-150.
Virus to Triple Z?
Wipe everything.
Hello, and welcome to Picture Cars. Today, you're going to listen to me talk about why I think the 12th Gen F-150 is the perfect choice for The Accountant, the 2016 film starring Ben Affleck and Anna Kendrick. In many ways, when a production designer chooses a character's vehicle, that vehicle becomes its own character. You see this with Baby's WRX STI, or Dean's Impala, and we've seen this throughout motion picture history. Dukes of Hazzard, Grease Lightning, Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, these are all examples of character cars. In a way, these cars get cast the same as any actor would. In another way, designers can create the perfect character actor for the use case. Then, on the opposite side of the spectrum, you have sponsored vehicles. Those are the actors that get put in as extras because they're related to the producer. When a genre becomes super successful, car manufacturers flood the genre with their vehicles for marketing purposes. Chevrolet used Transformers, as well as Captain America Winter Soldier, to model their newer vehicles. FCA had Jeep, Dodge, and Chrysler vehicles all over Gotham City in Batman v Superman, while Mercedes used Justice League. And let us not forget Tony Stark's affinity for Audi. Pop culture is rife with these cars used as standout set pieces. But I think the most intelligent version of production design, of meshing a vehicle with a character, comes when you don't fit into these two camps. And I think the 12th Gen Ford F-150 for Ben Affleck's Accountant is the most perfect example of car fashion design. In a made-up word, we can call it Cinemotive design, or, to spin it even further, costume design. Ruth Carter, Michael Wilkinson, Colleen Atwood, many others, have made popular the subset of movie making known as costume design. Every actor and actress will need clothes to wear, and they need to fit the tone of the film. But not every character gets a vehicle, and, even if they do, oftentimes you just need to make sure the model year is older than the setting of the movie. And so there's this even smaller subset of production design and set design that actually gets exercised that deals with the cars that people will drive. In period pieces, you're pretty constrained by the limits of the year which the movie is made and anything made before that. You can't place a 90s vehicle in a movie like Foxcatcher, which is set in the 80s, and you can't fit a vehicle from the 2000s in something like Get On Up. Then, realistically, you have to figure out how many characters have new cars. Does your main character get a new car? Your rich characters? Not everyone can have a new car, so what's that percent? But that's not a question this video is going to answer. Then you have stories set in modern day, like The Accountant. A movie that we can guess is set in 2015, the year when the studio wrapped up production. The biggest clue, a Chevy Suburban used by federal agents when searching the home of Christian Wolff, is a 2015 model, distinctive against the 2014 model year. Now, if I've done my research thoroughly enough, then I would say that Christian Wolff, an accountant, or accountant,
the accountant,
drives the 2013 Ford F-150 XLT Super Crew with a flex fuel option. I won't go in detail through the various shots I meticulously watched at fractional speed to ascertain that knowledge. Okay, never mind. Here it is. I got the best shots I could and compared them to every model year's trim levels and badging. Now that is out of the way, I will talk about why making his daily driver this particular vehicle is one of the most intelligent choices of this movie. That's obviously an exaggeration because there are too many intelligent choices in this movie to list in a picture car analysis. This movie is set primarily in Northeast Illinois. To be exact, we're mainly in Plainfield and Chicago. We're also in DC and France, among other places, but that does not matter. In Plainfield specifically, we have farmers hauling around in Chevy and Dodge trucks. And the only reason that matters is because Christian Wolff's clientele is made up of this pool of people, urban and rural Northeast Illinois. While we only get a glimpse at one of his clients, we have a sparsely filled parking lot of used vehicles. None of these are new to their owners. Then there's Christian, a man living well within his means we've seen time and time again, choosing a arguably base model trim for his vehicle. Now, maybe he bought it new in 2013, sure, but he chose the most sold vehicle in America in a trim level that has been considered the most popular in recent years, the XLT. In other words, he's decided to purchase the most vanilla car in America to fit with his vanilla house in the suburbs and his vanilla lifestyle so that he can project this vanilla persona to any stranger. This is a man who has figured out how to blend into everyone, including the government. Heck, of normal car colors, I'm talking red, black, white, gray, silver, he purchased the fourth most likely to get ticketed. Now, data is skewed here because of color frequency and so on, but don't debate me on this. I have sources. At the same time, he chose a model and package whose sync system, his infotainment system, was almost immediately rendered obsolete by other models, so that he had the excuse to use a burner phone, completely bypassing the onboard computer whose information, if he had to ditch the vehicle, would be hard to burn if recovered. For the F-150, there are a few infotainment system options available, but if you look closely, like I have, we're not dealing with the upper tier sync system. These purposeful decisions are beautiful. I mean, just supremely intelligent decisions by our accountant and really the production designer Keith P. Cunningham and art direction John Collins and Steve Freeman. The design of props and costumes is an intense focus in the movie making world that often gets overlooked. Some of the best costume designers are now making superhero costumes or dystopian future uniforms. They're mixing personalities of individual characters while creating a cohesive color palette for the director of photography. It's a hard job. It's easy to create loud costumes and creative props. Bear with me. It's easy to create loud costumes and props that don't cohesively mesh with each other. But getting them to gel together is very difficult. But when you're defining characters in the modern world, there's a subtlety that becomes more creative by defining the rule sets of the characters. It's not intuitive. Creativity by piling on more rules. It's easy to design on an open canvas, like the uniforms used in Hunger Games, then just repeat that design over and over and over again. Then those designs that are actually on an open canvas or platform turn into dysfunctional art. Dysfunctional. When designing for function and designing for constraints, often your brainstorming conversations explode with the different options you can explore. And I think that's why Matt Reeves' Batmobile is getting so much buzz in conversation. Ash Thorpe, the Cinemotive designer, created an impressive model. When you ground something as functional as the Batmobile without tearing up the design brief, you create something that resonates with the audience, especially this resto mod crowd. While the combined work of Patrick Tatopoulos, Zack Snyder, Chris Nolan, and Tim Burton have iconic Batmobile designs, the suspension of disbelief is on a whole other level. By grounding everything about the movie, you get these artistic choices that resonate with the audience. They'll say, "Oh, I've driven an F-150, that's exactly the right car for this scenario, duh." Or, "I'm a farmer, there's definitely an old truck on my property that, heck, even has some bullet holes in it." Kidding aside, I challenge you to take a look at the car choices for some of your favorite characters. Do they make sense? Or do they just serve a marketing purpose? It absolutely doesn't make sense that a billionaire would drive a Jeep Renegade. But it makes perfect sense for a couple who've been married a couple of years, no kids, to have a Nissan Maxima. And maybe I'll talk about that some other time. I absolutely love these stylistic choices. Cars which are given to characters to serve the function of the character just serve the story so much better and make these stories resonate. And what really should resonate with us more? The story. Thanks for watching, guys. I had a lot of fun doing this. Leave a comment of another car you'd like me to analyze. Let me know if you think I missed anything. Thanks again, and I'll see you guys in the next one.
To leave something behind.